broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, Banshees! Welcome back to the Banshee After Show here on AFTERBUZZ TV, talking about Season 3, Episode 6. We were all someone else yesterday. I'm Matt Lieberman. Joining me as always on the panel, Oriana Leo is here.
Hi, Banshees.
Isaac Johnson is here.
What's up, everybody?
And Manas Rose taking another week off. We miss him and we wish him well. Hopefully he'll be back next week. But we have a very special guest today. Hoon Lee is in the studio with us. Woo! Hoon Lee, who plays Job on the show. Welcome.
Hi. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Very well. Thank you so much for coming. We wanted you since last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's nice to hear.
Gosh.
So this episode, very, very well done. Like I watched it. I watched it the first time, and then I watched it again, and I'm like amazed at how much they were able to pack into this
Agreed.
one.
Yeah.
In terms of getting that sort of alternate universe backstory, kicking in a lot of our back half of the season plot lines, and then also really getting into Hood's emotional state, and Kai's emotional state.
Yes.
How did you feel about the episode?
Well, the first time I watched it, I actually cried through the first quarter of it because I really believe Antony Starr. I just believe this. The looks on his face, the expression he's able to give, you can just see how tortured he is. And no, I was not on Team Siobhan before.
Yeah.
And I love, by the way, all the comments on YouTube and how it's very polarizing, and whether it's Carrie or Siobhan.
Yeah.
But still, to see that emotion really just made me believe him. It made me believe that it was real.
What do you think, Isaac?
Yeah, no, I really dug it. I like all the emotional stuff with Gary, we'll call him, because he's not his real name, which I love that we found that out last episode. But love all that stuff. And then just, I was talking to you about before the show, but just all the great comedy lines that Job gets in this episode. Just releasing that tension and just, masterfully done.
Very important. Yeah. What did you think of the episode, Hoon? I mean, did you obviously you love the show, you're on the show.
Yeah, I'm in the enviable position of being on a show that I enjoy and that I'm proud of, and that doesn't always happen. But it's tough to watch a show that you're on with any sort of real objectivity, obviously. But I agree with Oriana. For me, it's always about the emotional quality of our leads. Really carries the show, and it's tough for me because we're very close as a cast, and we all hurt when one of us leaves the show.
Yes.
And Trieste is one of those cast members that has been there since the very beginning. So the longer the history of the show continues, the more in-depth the relationship becomes, and the harder it is to say goodbye. So I feel like in a certain way, even though the characters in the show were mourning, so we still were mourning as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Although people are going to have dinner with her the other day or whatever. So I find it sometimes difficult to watch the show with any sort of real sense of appreciation, because I'm just kind of fixating on what's it going to be like coming to work and she's not there, and we're not going to be able to hang out quite as much, and these sorts of drifting apart things always happen. But it makes us sound very summer campy, which isn't really. There's a lot of yelling and stuff like that. We're tough. We're strong.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this episode is, in a very simple and efficient way, we get a window into the intensity of the bond between Job and Lucas in a way that I feel like we haven't in a long time. Because he spends most of the time pissing you off.
Right.
You're mostly at wit's end with him, but in this beautiful moment behind the bar, when you repeat to him, what do you need?
Yeah.
And we know this guy will go to hell and back for this guy. Is so very important.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that the real contrast is, when Job rails against the activities of Lucas and what he does, I think he knows deep down there's an inevitability to it. And the primary difference between this and the other situations is that he also recognizes there's an extreme gravity to it, and that Lucas says, "Hey, I've seen a bunch of cash, and we should go lift it." That's one thing, and to see his closest friend in so much pain is a different thing.
Right.
But the action is inevitable regardless. Something is going to happen, and we might as well cut through everything and let's get to it. And it's somewhat, it is out of concern, but it is also somewhat self-serving because Job wants him to focus. He wants him to get back on task, not just to get the task done, but also because he sees that as a way through. He sees that as a way to get past this point. So there's a bit of caretaking there as well.
Yeah. I have a question, actually, from the fans. Judy and Rave Alien on Twitter asked the same question, which was, it seems really evident through this episode, that bond. Are we going to see, do you think, are we going to see any more of the backstory pre-Salon days? Fantastic.
Yeah, that's coming.
All right, great.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was really cool that you have a lot of, like the 5 stages of grief kind of going on with a lot of the characters here. One specific question for you, though, is like when Anna comes into the bar and he says, he's already had his heart broken once. Right. Is that a pointed line to her?
Oh, yeah.
About, that's a jab.
It is. I mean, there's a real sense for Job, rightly or wrongly, in his mind that all of this is happening because of her. Okay. He's here because of her.
Right.
And therefore, any trouble that precipitates is because of that initial impulse. Right. And he's not one to forgive or forget.
Yeah, well, he speaks his mind.
He speaks his mind. And there's a sense of, it's easy to displace blame. It's in that particular line, I remember, it's a very casual, I mean, he does it offhand.
It's not so great.
It's not even something he's thinking about. He'll just throw shade her way whenever, just out of habit. But it's funny because I love Ivana. We get along really, really well, and it's fun to play those scenes because we just get to play kind of like our bitchy alter egos.
And that fed itself into when she gives you the recorder outside of the diner.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just so perfect. The look on her face.
Yeah, I also like the line. This was in the comedy once for me when. From 1990 Never.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, you say, what does he need? And he's like, and then Kurt Bunker walks in, like, oh, look at tall, dark, and Nazi.
So that's another fan question is, do you ever ad-lib this stuff, or is it all written?
I'm scripted. And, it's a very, I love hearing that people enjoy the character, and they think that the character is successful and cool and stylish, and I want to be like, if you had high-paid professionals to dress you, tell you where to stand, and tell you what to say, you'd come off pretty well. So, right. I appreciate it, but where there's freedom is in the specificity of the language. So, the jokes are going to be there, and you want them to land, but how you arrive at it and how you navigate the dialogue with your partner is really kind of up to you in the scene, and they do give us license to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can we talk quickly about Kurt Bunker? And it's just still really weird. Maybe it's just because I'm still not used to seeing the character, or really just seeing him in uniform. But seeing him walk into that bar, I'm like, oh, right, okay, we're doing this now.
Yes.
Still very uncomfortable, but he's so fascinating.
I love him. I don't know what it is, but I think it's that intrigue. Like seeing him in the uniform with the neck tattoo coming out, it's just such a bizarre sight. But it's perfect for Banshee.
Yeah, I would say it just speaks to how well they've written this character. I mean, no one in here loves Nazis. That's probably a thing. I'm going to speak for all of you on
speak
that.
for me.
But I love the character.
Love is a strong word for Nazis.
But I love the character. He's so intriguing, and I want to know more about him every time he's on the screen.
Yeah.
And it was really cool seeing him stick up for Hood there, like at the end when the feds or whatever come up to him and he says, "It's like you don't want to do that."
Yeah,
it was really
his loyalty is very intense.
Well, he gave him a chance,
and I imagine he's like the first person to give him a chance in a long time,
very long time.
And when we take into account his backstory of having really no strong male role models except for this Nazi who beat the crap out of his dad.
Right. Well, he was loyal to them, and now he's loyal to the sheriffs.
Yeah. Violent loyalty.
Yeah,
it just
I didn't want to know.
Very unsettling.
Didn't want to know what was going to happen if he's like, you don't want to do that. I'm like, it's about to go down if there's a move here.
So let's talk about Hood's emotional and mental state here, because that last shot of the previous episode where one eye is practically a slit and the other one is just wild and crazy, says anything. then the rest of the conversation is said in that first shot of him looking at the funeral. He can't even get out of the car, just so completely devastated. And at the worst possible time, because we're prepping this heist, like we need him in full, Action Jackson mode. Well, maybe not Action Jackson.
Yeah.
Remo Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, we need him locked in. And as much as it is about, helping his friend, I feel like Job is also very much motivated by, we need our all-star MVP quarterback. We need him where he needs to be. So whatever you need done, I'm going to do it. And it's this plan to get him deep, close to the Redbone camp, arm him up, and get him in there to kill Chayton before anybody else. And we get this great scene between Brock and Hood at the top of the show, where Brock, while still, being there for his not partner but coworker and kind of friend, also has an agenda. It's everybody is recognizing this is an important guy who is not on his game right now. And I want to be there for him, but also I need to remind him that I need him for something.
Right.
And Brock still very much needs him to clean up that town. Yeah.
Yeah, he makes the clear distinction there that what the town needs in being a sheriff, and then he tells them what I need at this point, which is really just get vengeance for what happened to Siobhan.
Yeah. Vengeance is a cold mistress. And we introduce this FBI character who has no idea what he's dealing with.
No.
Not at all.
Much like most of our FBI characters.
Yeah.
It's I have to imagine that none of them expect a guy who was, he was. What do we know about Hood's past? He was trained at some point by the military, probably.
Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we think yes, because he said at the end of season 2 that he had another life.
Army psyops earlier.
Yes, a couple episodes ago. My feeling is that it's a big yes.
Yeah.
He would not be able to handle all these combat situations so well and be a crack shot if there wasn't a reason.
True. Yeah. But no one could possibly expect that a small town sheriff has all that training. No. And I love this moment where after you guys get into Chayton's tent and Chayton is asleep, and the look on your face as he goes to get the knife. And I was wondering what motivated that, because part of me was like, well, I don't think Job has ever seen Chayton live and in person before, so part of it is just the sheer size of this monster.
Right.
But then the other part, I know that you expect him to kill him, but it's just sort of like you have him in your sights. Why are you making this more complex? Is that what it is?
Yeah, and I the way I kind of felt is that we've seen Lucas involved with a lot of violence. We've seen him kill people, but we've never really seen him really in a mode of being a sadistic torturer. He's not cruel. He's not a cruel person.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that that's part of his history with Job either. So this is new information for Job to see a side that is quite beyond the pale for him, and something that is unexpected and dangerous, and very, very dangerous, to the point where he wants them to simply execute the plan and leave, because he wants them to get out, get past this, and he's hoping, he says it very directly, I'm hoping this will get you focused on the real task at hand. And the fact that there is no answer to that, the implicit answer is this is the real task. If the real task is to torture and murder another human being, that's a different person.
Right.
That's a different kind of soul you're dealing with. And I feel like Job doesn't really know what to expect, and for the first time in their long history, that he's on very uncertain ground.
Well, he's a variable, and when you're a thief, you deal in constants.
Yeah.
Right.
How many constants can I get on my side so that I can say with certainty I can do this?
And Job more than other people in the crew. I mean, Lucas is impulsive. He will take chances. You know, in the truck heist from season 2 of the opener,
so cool.
He jumps back into the armored truck, and that's the last thing Job wants.
Right.
It's like,
what are you doing?
gotta go.
Schedule here. Come on.
Yeah. TikTok. Come on. But Job is one of those people that wants to lock it down. He wants to have the plan set. He wants to, and so to be working with another variable is one thing, but for that variable to really go off the radar in some very unexpected way is even more dangerous and even more crazy making. So
it definitely points to his mental state, because it just seems like in any other circumstance he would make sure this person died, he killed him, or almost like, what's wrong with killing him or letting him be taken to jail by the FBI? Like, why? That's how you know that we know this guy just takes a bullet and he keeps walking.
Yeah.
Like, torturing his thigh is not enough. Like, you've got to stop this man, and clearly that wasn't enough for Lucas.
Yeah, and I mean, Ant, you spoke to this, but Ant's ability to tell the story without language is exceptional. And just those, him hissing the shh to Chayton is chilling.
It is.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that Chayton did to Siobhan before he snapped her neck.
Yeah.
And I can see him, because I thought, like, why doesn't he just take the shot? But, Chayton had told him, I'm going to make you suffer.
Right.
And so if he just kills him in his sleep, then he doesn't suffer. Yeah. Which, then of course he stabbed him in the leg, which I first thought was that in another area, that knife there? Like, it kind of looked, I couldn't tell until he got up and was like, oh, it's okay, it's the leg.
But I also feel like everyone's trying to be a hero in this episode. Like, we have Amy with the Kanaho PD that comes to, get Chayton. He nearly kills her. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't have any respect for life. Why does everyone think that they're going to be the one to, like, talk sense into him, or they're going to be the one? It's that sort of human condition of, I'm going to stand up and do something. It's like, well, Billy Raven totally ruined it by wanting to be the hero, right? Like, all these characters keep doing this, and it's like, no, just kill him.
Her specifically, she has a past with him.
She does.
She sees him as, like, the guy she grew up with, so maybe she can... maybe she can talk some sense into him, even when he gets her by the neck. Then he starts doing that thing again to her, and he was going to kill her. I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
But I think that's also a huge moment for her, because I have to imagine she never thought that he would actually kill her.
No, I don't. I think she still had that hope that, like, there's a good man in there.
Yeah.
And there isn't.
No.
Anymore.
You see the look on his face when it changes from... the last time we saw her, it was right after his brother died. They kind of share a small look of recognition. We all grew up together. This is the recognition of, you are an obstacle between me and my freedom, and that's all you are to me now.
And Chayton says it's not murder if it's for a just cause, or whatever the line is.
War.
Righteous war. And it's like, okay, all right, he's gone there. He's now on that psychopathic territory.
Yeah. Well, and even his justification for, like, well, you killed her, you killed that woman, I knew her, she wasn't a bad person. It's like, when she put on the uniform, she made her decision, which is probably talking to her as well, who also was wearing a uniform, like, even if you're in my way, I'll go through you.
And then he jumps stories to freedom.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Invincible.
Yeah.
I was so angry when I first saw this. I was just like, how could you do this? Like, your own selfish pride of wanting to torture this man lets him go?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's what he gets. It's what he deserves for taking too long, for trying to inflict pain instead of just doing the job.
But
Sure.
makes me mad.
All right. Really quickly, we need to talk about iTunes before we move on. Folks, I say it every week, but only because it's the truth. The best way for you to support AfterBuzz TV is to go to iTunes and rate and review the shows that you listen to or that you watch on YouTube. It's quick, it's easy, and it doesn't cost you a single solitary dime. I can guarantee you that. AfterBuzz TV offers the widest array of free after-show content anywhere on the web. You can take me to court. It's the truth. I will win the case, and you will be fined damages.
Who will be your DA, though?
Who will be my DA? Gordon, because he's a crack shot, and he knows a rotten case when he sees one, okay? Listen, go to iTunes, rate and review the shows. It's how we get our sponsors. It's how we get our guests, like Hoon, who know that this is a quality program that has great fans. So, do it. Do it now. You also get a great shout-out here on the show.
From Oriana, because I misread this, and it says February, but that's last year.
Oh, well, I have all kinds of shout-outs just for our fans in general. Thank you to all of the fans on YouTube. The comments from last week were really incredible, especially you, Jay Ward. Thank you so much for all the love. And I have a couple new Twitter fan-shees that are my fellow female fan-shees, Karen Kozakar and Brit Starr. Thank you for following and your support. And thanks to everybody that's just being involved, providing questions to Hoon. It really makes our job worth doing.
Yeah, thank you. Jumbo Shrimp 787 is one on Twitter that I remember. There's probably a few more.
Yep, Stacy S, Adam K, and I said Rave Alien earlier. Thanks for all your questions.
All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Kai and what's going on with him. I thought it was a huge moment, his father letting him come into that funeral, because it easily could have turned ugly, and I have to imagine he had some trepidation going there, not his territory. How do you guys feel?
Well, I felt like the guilt, the guilt of his father maybe finally realizing that, admitting to himself, maybe to no one else, that he was wrong. He made some bad choices, and it's the least he could do to at least let his own son be there.
Yeah,
that's my feeling. I was just going to say, sorry, Kai let him come and see his wife at his house. So I feel like there's that parity.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool that we find out the origin of why he has that tattoo on his back, that it's basically like in sort of defiance to God and like, it's something about like responsibility and
it was him basically saying, we shouldn't cower in fear of this God. His father taught him his whole life to cower in fear, and he put this on his back, this sacrilegious image, to say like, if you're going to do something, do it. Right. And now he's realizing that maybe the bad thing was a little more subtle than he thought. Right,
and that was the thing, that it was just like he now is questioning if he's suffering because of his defiance of his religion.
And any takers?
Maybe. I don't know. I think there's a lot of self-evaluation going on right now. And clearly things, the dial's turning with Emily in his life having a real grown woman in his life that he's not related to.
But how grown is grown?
Better decision.
I mean, granted, far better decision than Stupping the niece, granted.
Stupping.
But we know Emily. Emily is emotionally unstable. This is still the same woman.
He doesn't know Emily.
But we know Emily.
We do.
I mean, granted, you have to be a little emotionally unstable to knowingly date a gangster who's in mourning. Granted, but I don't know. I'm real uneasy by all of it. And did you see the look on Rebecca's face when Emily says, "Come to bed," and just livid?
Yeah. Oh, so you guys, I have a question: is Rebecca sleeping on the couch because she doesn't have a bed to share, or does she have her own room? Because we know they were
her own room.
She does.
Okay.
From the beginning of season 2, she had her own room.
I was like, why are you on the couch?
Yeah, which Monis Rose did predict that she was going to take his bedside. I don't know if you guys, it was like episode 2 that we talked about, but he predicted that, and we thought like, that's not going to happen.
Oh, Emily? He predicted
Emily?
Emily?
He did, and then we were like, no, it's not going to happen, and it happened.
There we go.
Which was just kind of funny. She's like, I see the good in you, or she sees the good in you, and so do I, and then like he had to look to her like, speaking of good in you.
Bro.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think it's a better choice.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. I think it's a better choice, obviously. Well, not related to her. She's an adult.
These are both good. These are both in the pro column.
It's a step in the right
Anything else other than adult and not related to.
Also not incest. So there's
caretaking.
I think that's covered by the relating.
He says thank you for being so kind and caring to my mother. So it's like, she's in there like swimwear.
Well, we get...
You're setting the bar pretty low when it's not incest.
Not incest.
Well, at the very
not
least.
Your niece.
Not your niece and not a prostitute.
There you go.
Yes, fantastic.
Baby steps.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Rebecca is just... Lost cause, rebel without a cause, the bad seed, whatever old movie. Yeah, whatever old movie you want to use to describe her, she is that. Her parents actually come forward, like, granted, not a real apology. I would have said the same thing, or some kind of version of it. Of just, they said they forgive you. You forgive me. You threw me out of my house, you dicks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's just how I felt. So I was in agreement with her there. But then she just gets this big fat head on her shoulders, and she starts making big business decisions without consulting her uncle. Yeah, and
I feel like she's just taking it for granted a little bit. Like he's brought you in and showed you the way, and you need to be grateful. And instead of being grateful, she feels entitled.
Yeah,
and I'm like, where does this come from?
I think it comes from when she shot one of Frasier's, or the competition a couple episodes ago, because in her mind it wasn't she made a mistake and then they had to kill them all. In her mind it was, I took out the competition.
Yeah.
I am not only am I a trusted member of this organization, I'm making the right calls for this organization, and my uncle is lucky to have me calling the shots.
And I don't think Kai ever reprimands her for that. Like, we see it on his face, like, oh shit, what just happened? But he doesn't ever take her aside and go, you can't do that.
Well, yeah, he doesn't do that. He just says, you made a mess, now clean it up.
You should clean it up or whatever. But we saw that she's basically just, she's overstepping her bounds. And even that moment after she's talking to Fraser's guys and tells them, like, we're raising the prices and all that stuff, and then they walk out, there's just like a slight moment to herself where she kind of like smiles and laughs, kind of like, yeah, I'm big time stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and then to be so thoroughly shamed by him.
That. Him putting in her place was awesome.
Awesome. It was terrific. But let's get into her mind here. Yeah. She's just lost all of this presumed power. She's lost the man. She doesn't have any control over him anymore. There's some woman sharing his bed, some stranger, and now she's just the girl without parents again. Parents who want to take her back. And she's like, hell no. I thought I had this cool new life where I was in charge. Don't make me become that girl again. I don't want to be her.
And she has that temper tantrum with Savoy and like,
smashing the dancer's stuff.
Her maturity level, it just exposes. Yeah, I mean, she's really a child on every level.
Yeah. She wants to be a grown up, but she's not.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't know if this was something I thought I was seeing or not, but like when he's like thoroughly embarrassing her there in the office, like seemed like everything around her started to kind of go a little blurry, and then when she's out there throwing the tantrum, things were blurry around her too. Was that?
No, I think
possible.
So. Yeah.
It's kind of. It was probably one of those things where it's like the emotional state of her is like the world sort of closing in around her, and she thought she had everything in control. Now she obviously doesn't.
Well, again, emotional directing, shoot and cut to the emotion of the character that we're paying attention to. Let's talk about Carrie and Stowe, who stops in and takes one last run at her. Is that the exact phrasing that he used?
Was the phrasing.
Yeah.
Such a charmer.
Right?
Charmer. Yeah.
I don't know how it didn't work.
Yeah. But
that man is smooth.
He's very smooth. But at the same time, she's still interested.
Yeah.
She still knows what she's passing up. And he can tell, and he just doesn't get it. Why on earth is she being so difficult? But it's a great opportunity to pick up his hand and voice print. What's going on in this dude's head? Like, where is he right now? I mean, obviously he can't possibly suspect anything, but the intensity with which he's just kind of zoned out always bothers me.
Well, I feel like this is a highly damaged person. He's been seen a lot, and it's shaped who he is, and he's got a little bit of a warped sense of justice, I feel like. Yeah. But he seems captivated with Carrie, and even if he's not in love with her, he's blinded, I feel like, and that's motivating this behavior.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
He's certainly warped. I mean, we see with him the whole he's loyal to these men because he feels like he can do a better job than the government or something to that effect. So he's off the reservation.
Yeah. How does Job feel about this guy, other than being a threat to you? Does he have any dog in this fight other than the money?
No, I think Job is I think he thinks about things very efficiently. He's not interested in things that have no bearing on the situation. He's a mark, that's it, and he doesn't have any reason to be overly concerned about Carrie. He doesn't have a reason to be overly concerned about pretty much anyone outside of Sugar and Lucas. So for him, I think a lot of his consternation sort of flows from this idea that other people are getting so distracted with all of these emotions and people.
Right.
Just these things that they shouldn't be wasting their time on,
And also just Sugar generally being a very laissez-faire kind of dude. Just it's gonna happen. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. They got to be a team pretty quick. I mean, it was early on in season 1, and the way I always kind of found my way to that was through the validation of Lucas. Basically, if Lucas is okaying this guy at this level, that's security clearance. And that's part of the reason why he doesn't like it, because it was never his choice. But it's valid to him. It's a valid decision to be made by the boss. So there's always this sort of, you were forced upon me, but the bond is real and it's legitimate because we share this teammate, essentially. And then over time, a more genuine affection has kind of grown. And actually, for me, the real turning point was when Jason Hood was in the bar and we're kind of chatting about him, to me that was one of the first times it felt completely co-conspiratorial and not co-conspiratorial and not simply
adversarial.
Right.
Yeah, not just racking on each other.
Sure,
but it was really, there was another subject to discuss. So we were on one team and he was on another.
Right. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, something like that. Like we both knew he was trouble for both of us on some level. So
good.
I mean, he's wonderful to work with, Frankie, and he's so instrumental in kind of helping my character and come along, which is just a blessing.
Well, you need something to play off of, and he has just such a strong, warm, sweet presence.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's no room for sweet in what we do.
Yeah, and much like Frankie himself, I mean, Sugar's kind of Teflon coated. You know, it doesn't matter what I throw at him. And it allows Job to exercise a certain kind of freedom because there's no real consequence within that relationship, and I feel like that's a way of him working out nerves. Perhaps that's a way there ends up being a sort of function that Sugar provides to Job that no one else really does, and because he can take it, you know, and he can dish it back.
I love you guys on screen. To me, it's like one of those like old comedy duos,
oh my
almost
gosh,
like Laurel and Hardy, or Abbott and Costello.
Frankie and I get along very well off camera, and I'm glad that sometimes it doesn't translate. You know, sometimes good friends don't have great chemistry on screen, but I'm glad it has seemed to translate well.
Yeah, it does.
It's a good day at work.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I wanted to talk about Brock, but I'm sure that's on the...
That's exactly
Is that where we're going?
Where I was going.
That's how close we are now. I can just read your thoughts.
Brock Lotus. Ex-wife sleeping with a criminal that he has vowed to put away. Guy like that's got a lot of frustration.
That's like an opening for another show.
Yeah, that's a tagline.
Yeah. I try my best.
Yeah.
Sleeping with a wife.
Yeah.
A man
Sleeping with the enemy.
They've taken his
One
kids
man,
again.
one black beard, one bald spot.
By the way, I really think we should all get behind the movement, Brock's beard, hashtag Brock's
I love
beard.
that beard.
Hashtag Brock's beard?
Yes, it's actually a thing,
Yeah.
and I recently spoke to Matt Servito to see if he'd come on our show, and he's agreed one way or another.
Wonderful.
But he has some plans for Brock's beard, so everyone stay tuned.
It's a magical
Isn't it?
artifact.
Is he going to
beautiful
start hiding
beast.
little
Cures
guns in there?
polio. It cooks.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share. We'll let him share if he
All
wants
right,
to.
he'll share if he wants
It
to share.
smells of strawberries.
Yeah. But, man, the dude's grouping is just on point. And he and Gordon, who haven't really shared any screen time this season, they used to be co-conspirators, much like Sugar and Job. And we get to... I think this is the first time we've ever seen Gordon fire a weapon. And
Yes.
he's a crack shot, too.
Yes.
Whoa!
Ex-Marine.
It's easy to forget that everyone on this show is ex-military or a super hacker with a black belt. Or just everybody has a past.
Yeah.
Janine
Yes.
down the street, she was an Israeli paratrooper. You know, like it's just...
Listen, everyone was someone else yesterday.
That's right.
Okay, in this town.
Bringing it all back.
Right on back.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting just to see Brock saying ultimately what he says to Gordon is, "I'll do anything to put him away." Like this is the new Brock. This is the Brock under Sheriff Hood that's willing to do what it takes because he wants to see justice served, and some justice takes too long.
Even committing serious perjury.
Yeah. Well, yeah, which, I mean, in the last episode, there's that moment where, like, Hood says, like, give me your badge, and the look on his face was like, don't take my badge, anything like that. And then polar opposite on this episode where he's like, I'll do anything. Really interesting.
We're seeing all these emotional motivations that I like it because we're seeing the cracks in everybody. Things are getting so hectic. Nobody can really stand up. And we see the moral fibers start fraying,
Yeah.
And they say that about human beings in general. The more micro decisions you have to make, the less willpower you have. And so I feel like that's been happening here. So much happens so quickly that people's ultimate character is like disintegrating, and we're seeing this.
Well, he's been eroding all year. He's been eroding all year, and the hurt on his face at the end of the episode when he realizes that Hood went to go take out Chayton without him and then screwed up. That he didn't include him at all when he specifically said, I want to go out, I need to kill that guy. Right. I need to kill him with you. I thought I was your partner. Deep hurt. Because, for him, this has been such a massive slide. Like, to accept that he is fallible and that he is willing to muddy his morality and his reputation in service of his own personal justice. And for Hood, it's not that big a deal because he made those decisions a long time ago.
Well, we also have to remember he lost Emmett, and now he's lost Siobhan.
And his ex-wife to a criminal.
Does he have Billy Raven? No.
Yeah, well, I'll say, who does he have left?
Kurt
he never
Bunker?
fully trusted Hood because he suspected him, and certainly not Bunker.
Yeah, certainly not.
He's lost a lot of people very close to him.
And his wife's fucking Kai Proctor.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also important that Siobhan and Emmett and Brock were the original BSD. And when you are introduced to these characters, they are good people in a bad town. And they are trying to use the law to turn the town around.
Sure.
At this point, he's lost the only other two people there, and Bunker and Billy Raven, simply by being in episode 5, are not really on the side of good. They can't be. Everyone is tarnished. Even the way that Bunker comes into the BSD is tarnished. So he's, in many ways, the only outpost of actual law.
Yeah.
And to see somebody realize that his methodology does not actually get results.
Yeah.
The real temptation for Brock, I think, is, are you after results or after you process? Is the process more important to you, or is the result more important to you? And I think that's the big struggle he's having this season.
Right.
He realizes Hood's methodology works, but it means throwing away everything he came up with. And I think that Matt's really having a great time playing it. It's such a juicy thing to sink his teeth into, and he's doing such a lovely job.
Yeah, he is.
Very well put.
I feel like it kind of ties in. I just had this thought that it's kind of a commentary on your environment. Even the best people will turn if they're in a black, toxic, cancerous environment for long enough. So kids, be careful who you hang out with.
Looking at you, Dava.
Yeah, speaking of
Dava.
which, let's talk about Dava. And just briefly, the scene between Dava and Gordon, I have to give Russ Blackwell a shout out, because it's just such like a quiet, honest, very real performance when he tells Dava, no matter what, I'm your father. We're the only people who haven't changed, and I'm always going to be here for you. That's huge. Huge.
And I feel his performance of the recovery that he's going through has been very well executed.
Yeah.
I really believed him as haggard and on drugs, and I now believe him that he has this newfound sense of purpose, and he looks good. Yeah, a lot better.
He's calling into
squeeze a trigger.
He's calling into question Brock's morality. I really love when she calls him dad after that. Like, he does kind of give her like the hard thing about missing class, or
that's what
let's
Dad's
just say I missed the last
do.
3. But it's like, well, and then he signs the thing anyway to not fully punish her because he has been absent, so he can't fully be like, you're doing the terrible things. I'm fine though. And then her still calling him dad was a sweet moment.
However, has she earned it? Because she's busy picking people's pockets, exercising her newfound thief skills, and attracting the wrong crowd.
Charlie Knowles.
In the form of Charlie Knowles, who is just a parent's worst nightmare, like stoner brat thief, like just the epitome of like scumbag loser.
Great hair, though.
Yes.
Great hair. Of course she was drawn in by that hair. Who couldn't? Think of all the secrets you could hide in
Like
there.
a magic web of promise.
Yeah.
You know what I was actually most disappointed about was
What?
when they go to the party and she tells her friend, whatever, like, you can leave, I'm staying.
Yeah.
I was like, that is the cardinal sin of girlfriends. You don't bring someone and then tell them to leave if they don't like it. Like, come on, where's your priorities?
There's bro code. Is there like a girl
Down-
bro
Yes,
code?
it's the same.
Down Charlie's
You never
road.
leave a friend.
It's not
Like, you
called
don't.
bro code though. What would we call
It's
it?
girl code.
Girl code.
Yeah.
On
Okay.
MTV.
You don't ask someone to come with you and then abandon them. If you do,
is
you're
true.
a bad friend.
Unless it's been agreed upon prior.
Yes, exactly. Unless
With me,
terms have
and
been
we're together,
set.
unless I find somebody.
Yeah.
If
Which
I
we're
give
not
you the
together.
signal, you gotta go find somebody. You gotta go jump on the grenade over there.
That's guy code.
Okay, sorry. That's the only one I know.
And Jersey Shore guy code at that. Anyway. This guy not happy about this situation. It felt very season 1 Dava to me. And I'm like, I feel like you've come through so much. Are we really doing this again?
She's hurting. She's really hurting, and
Yeah.
she wants attention, and she knows that at this point she can do whatever she wants. And so, trust me, I was that girl a little bit as a teenager.
How many pockets did you pick?
Well, I didn't pick any pockets, but I definitely went to some
Where's
of these
my wallet
parties
goes?
and thought I was a real badass, and I wasn't, but I I just wanted to defy the people that were making me so angry.
Sure.
And I knew this would upset them and hurt them, so that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I see in her.
Well, she pretty much was blowing him off until he asked her, you want to get out of here. Which, that's kind of been her thing before. Like when she had stopped, I think it was like 2 episodes when she talked to Hood about leaving town. Like she does want to get out of there, and that's the thing that stops her in her tracks.
That's an interesting point.
That is interesting.
That's an interesting
I didn't
point.
catch that.
But
also, she's been in situations with guys before, and the dynamic was always sort of spider to fly.
Right.
And this is one of the. It's an escalation to see her willingly go
right
and embrace it and reject Dee Dee on the way out. Before it was, kind of a seduction of her, and when things got a little too deep, she freaked out a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a sort of the testing of boundaries is becoming more extreme.
Yeah, see her use drug or smoke for the first time, I guess, because he was like, "Oh, your first one."
Well, she was going to a pot shop just a few episodes ago.
Yeah, but I guess she didn't smoke until now.
No, really?
Well,
I
she
don't
takes the
think
rip
so.
and, like he says,
Yeah,
that was
but
your first
she's
one.
never had a bong rip before.
Bong rip is
because she's been
different.
smoking joints out in the
Very
alley.
I'll let you guys be the
No,
experts.
Yeah, I don't
on
have the
that.
nuance down on this
Yeah.
one. Sir.
She was smoking
A lot of
guys.
smoke
a
all
lot.
at once.
That's what he said.
There's
He
a
said that was your
terminal
first one.
velocity
Yeah,
going
it's
on.
Very complicated.
Okay.
She
But
has
they
a
were-
chart.
They were smoking the joint in a couple of times. When Lucas Hood picks him up, so like she's been around it, she's
It's
been
her first
doing
bong
it.
rip.
But this is
Okay.
a whole nother level,
Whole
like you
nother
said,
level.
escalation.
Yes, exactly.
Oriana Leo's expert on picking pockets.
And smoking.
I've got all
being
kinds
a
of
rebel
secrets, people.
and bong rip versus
All
a
right.
joint trip. This
I think it
good
is.
to know.
We need to talk briefly. We need to talk about these flashbacks before we
Yes.
wrap up. Which I love this kind of alternate universe version of the pilot of Banshee.
Yeah.
Where just it's an important question to be asked, especially if you're someone who has as guilty a conscience as Lucas Hood right now. Is what if I had the power to stop this conflict? What if I had stopped it and I had seen Carrie with her family and realized that I wasn't wanted and that I shouldn't be here, and I just, rather than being selfish, I just left. And it's a beautiful sequence.
It's beautiful, the black and white.
Awesome.
Just and Siobhan and her, like this, how
Angelic
innocent and
face.
angelic she looks from the beginning.
Yeah.
It was very powerful, and it speaks a lot to if I knew now what I knew then, what would I do? And he seems to hold a whole lot of regrets, which he should.
Yeah, I mean, like hindsight is 20/20. There's a cool like parallel with both Kai and Hood there. Just that, like the question of like, am I responsible for this? And that question is asked to sort of both of them. And it seems like Hood certainly thinks he's responsible for it because that's why you have him. I mean, I don't know. Is that him imagining like what would have happened? Or
I
is
think
that...
it's a little wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
He would give anything to have her still be alive,
Yeah.
and what maybe life could have been like if they had met on different circumstances.
And almost the same with Kai, because Sugar is talking to him about, I'm sorry for your loss, and about responsibility. If Kai had gone back and gotten his mom sooner, or if he'd done anything differently, would she not have suffered and died? Like things could have gone a lot of different ways.
Yeah, but I honestly think real Lucas Hood would have gotten himself killed within 2 months.
Believe I
Easy.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of handsome. Kind of like seeing him in his uniform because we didn't get to see him in his uniform.
yeah,
and there was that like moment of, oh, this is how it could have been. But I agree, he wouldn't last very
He wouldn't
long.
have lasted 2 months.
Yeah. And there was like a real like sort of telling thing there when he's talking to the guys instead of like getting into it with them. Like he actually did. He says, "What we have here is a lose-lose situation." So I was kind of wondering, is that like where he as a character is at this point in his life? Is he in a lose-lose situation?
I haven't seen the pilot in some time, but I from what I do recall, the differences are very subtle, and I think it speaks to how thin is that line before option A happens or option B happens. And the way I always read it, because when you look back at that, even in the replay of it, the actual Lucas Hood is not making wise decisions.
No.
So clearly, to your point, how long is he really going to last? So I do think I think it's wish fulfillment as well. It's not just this is the alternate reality.
Right.
He believes maybe he is guilty because his projection of what would happen is all positive. It's all good.
Yeah.
Right.
But the reality is, Rabbit was looking for Anna.
Yeah.
And he was out of jail, and
Right.
maybe that would have happened anyway. He would have found him, tracked him down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
onto
you're
Banshee.
absolutely right.
The reality is not necessarily that. It's simply how he feels about it.
Yeah, well, and maybe that's like the denial stage of grief or whatever, because it's like he blames himself for the real Sheriff Hood, he blames himself for Siobhan, he blames himself for what happened with Carrie.
Yeah. I love those sequences. I see the episodes when the crowd does, when the audience does.
Oh, that's great.
So, I mean, I love being able to get some of the same impact, particularly for things I'm not in, like all the really good episodes I'm not in. God.
You're in some good ones.
No, I mean, believe me, I'm happy to have a job. That's not it.
Yeah, no, I love you and Sugar casing the security place there. That was great.
Oh, but the salt on the caddy, I was just that was breathtaking.
Okay, so I did get a fan question, and it was from Banshee Bitch. Asked, actually, it wasn't. Sorry, it was not. It was someone else. Adam K. Sorry, somebody said, "Where was Job during the attack?" Do you have a night feeling about that? Like, where were you when we needed you?
Well, I'll say that the compression of time, the actual real compression of time, it's quite brief. It's not. It's not that long.
Yeah.
So the fact that they kind of answer the question of why can't anyone communicate with anybody else, it's sort of it's a little bit of letting people off the hook, of course. But that's very much the point of this episode is what happens in the crucible of the caddy, and so I think that to me it's always slightly bittersweet because I'm not able to participate in some of these things. But I love the fact that it is a very clear attack on the episode. You know, no extraneous parts to what needs to happen in there. And the reality is that the world of the BSD and the world of Job and Sugar and Anna are separate parts of an already fragmented existence for Lucas, and they could really only focus on one part to have it be effective. So I thought that was absolutely the right call, although I was like, oh, that would have been a great episode to be part of, but, I would have changed it.
Sure.
So. Sure, yeah.
Great insight.
All right. I think it is time for some quick predictions and then chatting with Hoon.
And now, you're AfterBuzz TV.
Yeah. By the way, Chatting with Hoon is also the name of some other show, right?
That's right. And it's One Man and a Beard.
Podcast? I would watch that.
I'd love
Rock's beard. Yeah. One beard.
Oh, that voice is amazing.
Beard, one desire. So, all right. So we have what? We have 4 episodes left of this season.
3, right?
4,
7, 8.
10.
Oh, you're right. Sorry,
10.
I can't
so
count.
7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 4 left. What are we thinking? I can't believe that we're already like in the back half.
I know. I wish we could slow down. I love this show.
For me personally, I mean, we gotta finish up with Chayton. We can't wait till the end of the season to finish up with Chayton. He's out there.
He seems unkillable to me. And also, if you kill him, then what happens with the rest of the season? I mean, obviously the bank heist, which
there will always be
I want that bank heist to happen already.
There will always be a big giant that they bring in. That's the bad guy.
Sure,
but I feel like you have to deal with him by the end.
How much bigger can you get than Geno Seegers?
Probably not much bigger, man.
Yeah.
That's what we have computer graphics for.
Yeah, my prediction is that Rebecca's going after Emily. That look on her face was.
That's a great one.
She's got evil plotted for her.
That's good. I hadn't thought of that, but I see Rebecca is going to spin out and cause violence and mayhem.
Yeah.
I did see on the preview that there is a heist that's going to happen. It is going to happen. How it doesn't look like it goes too well.
Is that next episode?
It's just like coming up next, and it's a great edited little promo piece that just essentially shows that there is another war to be had.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks really exciting. So I don't know. It seems like I would guess that Hood gets his focus back, or at least maybe Job and his buddies bring him back to the task at hand.
Push him into it.
But I think my prediction is that he's not well enough to execute it the way the old Lucas Hood would.
That sounds very sound to me. Anything else, Isaac?
I have some news and gossip.
Oh,
are you going to predict?
I did. I said I just want to see Chayton.
Okay.
Chayton dealt with. What do you got?
News and gossip.
News and gossip.
I thought we were going to.
AfterBuzz TV News.
I
want one of those.
Oh yeah.
Banshee has been picked up for season 4.
Yeah. All right.
Hoon Lee got 8 more episodes of work, hopefully.
Why 8?
Why 8, not 10?
That was the question, which I was going to ask you guys if you had any thoughts, because everything I looked up didn't say specifically why it was 8 instead of 10.
Adam and Greg, can you please help us understand this?
Yes, Adam and Greg, help us understand it.
Aren't most TV contracts for actors 3 seasons, and then you have to renegotiate for a 4th season?
I get paid in sandwiches, so.
Well, I have to hope that it was a decision on the part of the creative team where it was like, look, we can either do 10 episodes and have a couple of like smaller episodes, or we can pack all of our budget into the stunts for season 4 and make sure that every episode is action packed.
Could be a budgetary thing, but oh man, don't give me less episodes. Give me more episodes of Banshee.
I know.
Also, I don't know if he was on before because I've not seen, but like Alan Ball from True Blood is joining.
He's always
been.
Always
yeah.
Yeah. I guess we hadn't seen his name before, or I hadn't anyway.
Right.
Really exciting, and it's going to be set. It's going to be set in Banshee, but the location is changing to Pittsburgh.
Yes, we're doing Pittsburgh.
Yes, yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how that's recreated and what season 4 has in store. Are they going to be in Pittsburgh? You don't even know, Hoon, do you?
Pennsylvania.
I have no idea.
Well, we do know that Jonathan and Adam have finished breaking season 4.
Yep.
Right.
So they're finishing up the scripts for that.
They're location
now.
scouting this month.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I know.
Yeah. Well, let's just thinking about it. What are the leftover threads we've got here? We've got Chayton is still alive. We've got this heist that we need to pull, and whatever falls out from that. We gotta break up Dava and this guy.
That's a new
definitely
thread
going to
opening.
happen. Rebecca's going to go.
Rebecca and Emily.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess
chat with Hoon.
This next episode though is really going to be. I mean, it's going to be. We always say this, but I honestly believe the creative team tries to push themselves and does not rest on their laurels. I'm really excited for people to see the next episode and kind of how parts of the story are told.
Which is your favorite episode of the season? Is it the next episode?
Yeah, that was my question.
Favorite episode is probably it is probably 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's just. In some ways, it's so pure. You know, the concept is so straightforward that you just concentrate on what's happening to the people, and I really dig that. And it's also nice to see so many of the cast kind of involved in a singular idea, which doesn't happen a lot. And to see new guys like Tom just come out guns blazing, I mean, the guys just wrecked it right away, and Afton, and you know. And some of Ulrich's best work, I think, you know, for these moments that are difficult to do, you know, to fill them the way he did. And of course, you know, it's heartbreaking. It's everything you want in an emotional roller coaster. It's this big highs and just tragedy.
One of my favorite things is when you call Sheriff Hood baby. That gets me like a laugh every time.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite character moment from Job playing him?
Oh man, you know, I'll go with the diner scene in season 1, just because that was the first thing I ever shot as Job.
Cool.
And it was
from episode 4.
Yeah, from episode 4. It was the first thing I shot. It was like I spent a lot of time trying not to fall over in heels. And, you know, I had to do a stunt, and I'd never really done one before. It was a lot of learning on the fly, and but it was the first time that I felt like I was asked to inhabit the character and felt like it felt native to do so. Yeah. But you know, your first time is always the best in that way. But maybe a very close. My favorite thing with another actor that was actually appearing on the hood of the car and seeing Ant for the first time, because that was my first scene with Ant.
Oh, cool.
And I knew right away that he was just an exceptional actor, and he was just so available right away. We didn't know each other at all, and I thought it was going to be start of something good. So
can I piggyback on that? We have a question from Adam K. What was your favorite outfit from season 3? Have you had one?
Season 3? My favorite outfit is probably coming up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can you
3.
tell us which episode?
I think it's 8.
Okay.
I think it's 8.
And another question from Brit Star. How did you come up with your voice accent affectation?
Oh, man.
I was going to say, there's a trip, like hearing your real voice.
I see I really feel like a lot of it is on the page. And I felt like in season 1, Jonathan Tropper and Dave Schickler, who had written the scripts, it was there. The bounce of it and the kind of rhythm of it and the feel of it. And then I had a couple of other things that I was thinking of that I'm going to keep for myself.
Okay.
But but I really felt like the most of it was on the page, and
Sure.
it was just kind of a question of articulating it and not tripping.
Is there some specific thing that they write on the page to sort of give that to you?
I don't know. I mean, Jonathan is a novelist, and I think as a novelist, I'm not saying that other writers don't do this, but as a novelist, it's maybe more present in him to write with a certain kind of musicality, and I think he lets that go in Job, and I think he really enjoys writing Job. I think the writers in general enjoy writing Job. I feel like it comes across.
It does.
And unlike a lot of the characters, Job talks a lot, and he can go on jags. Again, to see what Ant and Ulrich can do with 2 words, it's a little bit of a clinic.
Yeah.
I get lots of words to try and get it right. I'm like, somewhere in the middle, I'll get something. Yeah, there we go.
No, you do a terrific job at it. I really like the way you play him.
Thank you. He's a joy to play.
Yeah. Can you speak to Job's background? I know you said that we're going to learn a little bit more about earlier in Job and Hood's relationship, but how much have they told you? How much have you come up with for yourself?
There's been a bit of a mix. We've had conversations about it sort of to lay the groundwork and to fuel decisions and choices, but nothing that I would call canonical to the character. And I think a lot of that is because there's a certain flexibility that's just required in television to sort of retroactively adjust history as needed. But I know enough about the points of origin, particularly with the key relationships, to understand what the people mean to him. And that's really he's a character that exists in the triangulation of other characters. Hood exists in this world of his own, and Job exists in the world of Lucas. So it's more important for me to understand the relationships and the ties that bind than to understand, in my opinion at least, the complete encyclopedic backstory of Job. I need to know how he moves with other people, because he's always going to be kind of treated that way as a sort of as part of a function of a larger organism. And so that's the conversations we tend to have.
Okay.
But you will actually learn something fairly substantial and concrete about their relationship and about their background.
This season?
Will form a lot. This season.
Cool.
Great. Do you have a favorite? I know you don't get to do tons of stunts. Do you have a favorite stunt that you've done?
We do a lot of stunts. I really liked the church scene in season 2, episode 9. That was a lot of work, and it was a lot of fun. And worked very closely with the stunt team on all of that, and they were just amazing and incredible mentors, incredible teachers, and so available. And everything is about trying to make sure we're safe and doing things. But the way we shoot, simply the way we shoot, they're going to see you. So it's kind of on us to be as prepared as we can be. But in breaking down that sequence, we also started to break down what combat means to Job, or what we can describe about the character through action, and that conversation began. And that's a completely different way to approach the character, which I found really, really thrilling.
Can you share some of that with us?
Sure. I always think of, again, by contrast, I can always think of Lucas as a gladiator. He enters a ring. So, first episode, it's a ring of the Moody brothers. And it's third episode, it's the MMA cage fight. He's always entering an arena, and he mostly survives through grit.
Right.
He's very skilled, but the thing that allows him to win fights he shouldn't win, is the fact that he's willing to go that extra. I had a friend once in college who said he was always sure he would win any physical fight he got into because he felt he was always willing to escalate first, which I thought was really and that's put the cookie down and left the room. But there's something about that to Hood. He's always willing to go once. He's willing to take more damage. He's willing to go further. So we wanted to build a contrasting action style for Job. So a lot of it for Job is reacting. He's taking in data and he's figuring out the puzzle. And some of this is not, we know that a lot of this is not going to necessarily read, but it's a way for us to approach it meaningfully and with some sort of a structure to it. So in the church scene, some of the initial drafts, it was more of a melee. And we turned it into an escape. We turned it into flight. so that the objective is very clear. The objective is not to beat these opponents. The objective is to leave.
Right.
And the opponents happen to be in the way. And so he has to get around them. And all of these things are about getting around them. So all the movements are circular. They're about turning the turnstile or revolving a door, that sort of thing. And so MMA-style groundwork ends up coming up because a lot of that is problem-solving and taking what is presented to you and trying to decode it and figure out what the other person is doing and then react to it. So there'll be a fight coming up. I don't think I'm giving away a spoiler, but there'll be a fight coming up where, again, if someone breaks it down, it's probably more clear. You probably won't necessarily get it. But in structuring the fight, Marcus would ask me, does this seem to make sense? And he would have very clear ideas about how to take Job's the sort of fighting style we've been thinking about and how to apply it into this context. And so it gives us a framework for the action, which is very, very helpful and saves a lot of time, actually.
Fascinating.
Cool.
Pie in the Sky, dreams for Job next season and beyond. Is there something you'd really love to be able to do as this character?
Oh, God. They've given... I have zero complaints. I think that... I've been in the business long enough to know that a role like this doesn't come around a lot, and I think they give me very good things to do. They don't have me show up gratuitously, so I'd rather that when I show up, I have something meaningful to do than kind of be in the background just as an accessory. Right. And they've grown the character more and more, and they've grown him in ways that are meaningful to me. The idea that he is a loyal person, the idea that he's a humorous person, the idea that he can be transgressive in gender, in attitude, in stereotype. These are all amazing things to be able to play with. So I trust them implicitly. They haven't steered me wrong at all.
If he ever actually got money, like he's always trying to get the money, the mythical money.
How much money do you need?
What would he actually do? I mean, is it about building another salon? Is it about building the ultimate computer? It doesn't seem like having neither gets in the way of life.
I have zero actual confirmation on this, but I'll say, like, if I look at the show and what the themes are of the show, a lot of the show is about people who have no home, who are trying to find a home. And I think that Job, in his way, is trying to find a home. But when you think about what he does, he can get money whenever he wants.
Yeah.
So home for him maybe, and again, this is just me, home for him maybe is the process of getting money. The job itself is home because it brings him together with these people that he's close with, the only people in the world that he's close with.
Yeah, his family.
Yeah, family.
And so he doesn't necessarily, if everybody, Lucas leaves prison to find the woman that he left 15 years ago, to go move into the house that he's already bought, that he has on a locket. I mean, that is actually the heart of Banshee. Right?
Yeah.
That's what starts everything. And I feel like Job's version of that is, riding off into the sunset with his team, robbing everything inside. Right. Because that's what's meaningful. It's not, it's just the act of doing it, and the money itself is a bit of a MacGuffin. So,
right. Well, Hoon, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want people to know about while you're here?
The support from the fans is a direct reason why we have seasons. And I cannot express to people enough how important that is to us, how much we value it. The cast and the crew talk about it all the time. And it's what keeps us going on very, very hard shoot days. And just knowing that we have a responsibility to try to keep our end of the bargain up. And I cannot emphasize enough how important that is and how seriously we take it. So thank you.
Awesome. Where can the people find you online? Do you have a Twitter?
I have a Twitter account at Mr. Hoon Lee, which sounds like my father, but there it is. And that's probably the best place.
Okay, awesome. Oriana, where can the people find you?
You people can find me on Twitter at Miss Oriana Leo.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean, you people?
All the Banshees can find me on Twitter at Miss Oriana Leo or Instagram at Oriana Leo. And please hit me up. We've got a lot of great conversations going online. I appreciate all the love.
All right. And Isaac?
You can follow me on Twitter at Isaac Johnson, Instagram, The Isaac Johnson, and my YouTube page, also The Isaac Johnson. I've got a music video and a short film there. And thank you to those of you that came out to see me in the play on Thursday. I really appreciate that.
That's great. And folks, you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman. That's MattLieberman. You can also find all my videos on my personal channel on YouTube, youtube.com/c/Matt Lieberman. SourceFed and SourceFed Nerd here doing Better Call Saul and Helix as well as this show. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Banshees rule!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.